We're live now. And the vortex of Trump tyranny tracking, the Ukraine Putin expert, the Substack demigod of keeping track of all things terrible. Please welcome Olga Lautman to the program today. Nice to see you, Olga. Good to see you.
Welcome, Olga.
Wow, you're very energized after your vacation.
Yeah,
That's
I was just saying, and it was really nice of you, Olga. So nice to see you again as well. I mean, the work you're doing is heroic. I don't know how you do it.
likewise.
Yeah, but yeah, I got away for a couple of weeks, and
Ah,
we were just talking about how you can't even listen to Trump's voice. One of the most amazing things about my trip to Italy, other than being able to put everything down and kind of collect my thoughts and spend some time in my own life instead of other people's lives online, was how many Americans we met from blue and red states, specifically a lawyer from California, who the first thing she said to me when she found out I was from Canada, she goes, I just have to tell you, I am so sorry. I go, what are you sorry for? I'm so sorry for Trump. What he's saying about you. I go, we don't give a shit. We know he's an idiot. She goes, do you? I go, yeah. We know he's a moron. Like, we get it. Like, he's just entertainment to me. And she goes, I have to tell you something. Every time I talk to a Canadian, I feel less than because of what he's putting you through. I go, no, I have to tell you something. Every time I talk to an American, I feel absolutely terrible for what you're going through because that's in your country. So to your point earlier, Olga, I feel for you, sister. I really do.
and as a Ukrainian, imagine having
Oh,
having all of that with 1,000 drones collapsing buildings while children are sleeping, and launching missiles and not having air defense systems
mhm.
to
Wow.
stop them as European allies watch these missiles fly, scramble to make sure that, if Russian missiles enter their airspace, that they don't fall on their territory. But then once they're like, oh, it's going to Ukraine, let it continue. And
Mhm.
This
that's
is
it.
this is why Olga is so amazing. She puts in so much work because she feels for the Ukrainian people so much every single day when we talk. You can just feel it at the core of everything she does. The amount of work you do is phenomenal, and
I
you,
have family there. I mean, this
yeah.
is,
Where
this is
I'm
a,
not asking for an address, but where are you from in Ukraine, and where's your family from in Ukraine?
well, I have family originally Kiev and Odessa.
Okay, yeah.
So,
Yeah, and it's everywhere, right? What was it, 1,000 missiles
everywhere, the
over
whole
three
country,
days?
the whole,
Yeah.
right now there are troops being massed on Kharkiv's border. It looks like, Russia, as Trump provides cover for Russia, it looks like Russia's preparing summer, offensive to expand it and try to again take Kharkiv and Sumy. So
But it's
Mm.
also true that Ukraine is hit quite hard into Russian territory now, which is looking like some people are saying, Financial Times was saying yesterday that it looks like the Russia is going to lose this war, certainly under the current balance of power. And I don't know whose assessment they're relying on there, but the FT is normally pretty sober-minded about these things.
it
So
is difficult. The problem is Ukraine will never surrender. Ukrainians will never go back under Russian occupation. I mean, frankly, better live in a cave and never see the light of day than before living under Russian occupation, because I mean that's pure torture and literal torture. Um, but the problem is that, with the US exiting and Europe still, trying to figure it out, more people are dying. So, I mean, it's a matter of how many people have to die. And I've said this from the beginning, if, Europe, UK, and the US in 2022 properly armed Ukraine, we would have been finished. Because it was that delay. Should we send tanks? No, we won't. Yes, we will. No, we won't. Putin's going to get mad. No, he won't. And, and then the same thing with missiles and the same thing with every weapon system. It's those months in delay that allowed Russia in the winter of 2022 to really fortify their positions on the front line.
that same is
Um,
true today for that bill that's sitting in the Senate with approval for arming, Ukraine against Russia. The 80
That's not
senators,
going
and
anywhere.
it's
I
not
mean,
going anywhere.
call, but
Yeah.
I mean, Trump's not going to sign that. I
But
mean,
it's crazy. They've got 80 senators in
yeah.
agreement there, co-sponsoring this bill, and they can't get it through. I mean, that's tells you
I'm
a lot
old
about
enough
this.
to remember last year, dealing with the Republicans in House and Senate, on issues with Ukraine and the support that they had privately. And not only that, the actions that both sides were taking to make sure that Ukraine receives weapons. Again, you have the whole mega wing of the party. You have Mike Johnson, who is responsible and frankly should be held responsible for genocide, for delaying the package for 3 months. But then you have a lot of old school Republicans who, still have that hawkish Russian mentality, and but they're silenced these days.
So I'm going to change the topic a little bit here on you because we've got the FiveStack and we've got the Trump tyranny tracker we're trying to do today, and I'm going to
Yeah,
try to get back to Ukraine
two
in a
for
bit. But
one.
but if you do, Dean, is there anything else you want to share on what Olga just said before we jump into it, and then
No, I think it's one of the great crimes, and we're watching it happen. Is on top of all the other crime, the financial crime is the aiding, a terrorist state and the continued genocide of the Ukrainian people. I mean, Trump was going to end this in a day. It's been 2 weeks, and then another 2 weeks, and another 2 weeks, and yesterday he said 2 weeks. And I guess the question I would have for Olga before we get into the five stack slash tyranny tracker, Trump tyranny tracker. I love that we're doing
it's a
this with
mashup?
you. I've always wanted to
I
be on
know.
your show. This is so exciting for me.
I love
Um,
being on your show.
well, let's do it again. But the question I would have is what do you make of the reports in media of tension between Trump and Putin? Do you think this is all made up stuff? Do you
I
think?
actually just wrote an article the beginning of the week because Ukraine was under such heavy assault. I mean, what was happening in Ukraine over the week, I mean, was at the peak of what's happened since the
Yeah.
full-scale invasion. And literally, my article was attacking the media because they treat this as, theater. And this is all it is, theater. Not the US media, not the majority of people here understand, and Zev and I have spoken about this many times, that it's a very complicated thing. No one can end this war. No one. There are very particular reasons for why this war is not going to end. And Trump, is providing cover for Putin. Putin
Mhm.
is preparing a further, offensive for the summer, and Trump keeps saying 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, 2 weeks, basically providing Russia with their stalling tactics as they prepare and fortify positions to try to, further move into Ukraine. So I mean, this is nothing more than theater. There is no tension. Trump couldn't give a shit less about Ukraine. He does care about Russia. Everything he's doing has been helping Russia. And the fact that our media, you know, um, I mean, they are literally participating in deception because
Mhm.
every headline reads as if Trump, is now against Putin. Yet there has been no foreign policy shift. So whatever he says, Putin is crazy, whatever it is, it's not newsworthy unless it accompanies Putin is crazy and therefore I'm authorizing X amount in military weapons. Putin is crazy and therefore I have spoken with our European allies. This is a concrete plan we're going to do to push back Russia and drones and whatever. Nothing is going to happen. So, I mean, this is all theater.
Yeah, it
Mm.
does appear like it's just theater. It's just performative, as Dean likes to use. Um, speaking of performances, in the Oval Office just a short while ago, Elon Musk and Donald Trump had what was the most bizarre press conference I've ever seen, and also one of the most painful
That's
press
saying something
conferences.
too, isn't it?
And I've seen a
Yeah.
few, but it was excruciating to watch. I mean, for
Yeah.
one thing, Elon Musk had a black eye. He's quite a serious black eye, and he says that it's his 5-year-old son X that was horsing around with him and gave him a black eye. I mean, maybe that's possibly true. I mean, we'll take his word for it. But he looks really shook up. Otherwise, he looked pale. He looked like he
Mm.
a little dehydrated, perhaps. His eyes were sort of darting all over the room. He was looking at the ceiling. He tried to cover up for that
Elon?
afterwards. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
missed it because I
Uh,
can't. I'm
yeah.
allergic to these
And
conferences.
I don't know if you missed it, Olga,
yeah,
but you didn't see it. As someone who doesn't miss either
yeah,
one of those two jack offs, I can tell you this is that to Zev's credit, I watched a little bit of it. He tuned me in, and he's like, "Are you watching this?" And I had to go watch it because he sent me two screenshots. One of Elon's black eye and him standing there like this, like a
yeah.
sex doll, and the other one was of him. The other one was of him looking straight up into the ceiling, and he was fidgety.
Oh, maybe
He was
I have
sweating.
thoughts.
His mouth was dry. He kept going the whole time. And it's on top of, if I can, Zev, just kind of hop in here. I
Yeah, go
understand
for
this
it.
is the
Yeah,
number five
yeah.
story on Substack that
Or four, or wherever
or
we are. I don't
four.
even
We
know where
did,
we are
yeah, we did
today.
Ukraine. This is four.
Yeah,
It was his goodbye press conference with Donald Trump, which Donald Trump proceeded to make about him. It was incredibly stage managed, to Zev's point. But Elon Musk was fucking in one today,
yeah.
like absolutely stoned out of his tree, which is why he didn't really say a whole lot. But you could tell variably. And listen, as someone that has struggled in the past with addiction and fortunate enough to have gotten away from it and live a very healthy lifestyle, the markers of addiction were all there. The sweating, how pale he was, how thin he looked, how fidgety he was, how uncomfortable he looked, the dry mouth. He was fucked, Zev. I don't know if you saw
Mhm.
that, but I sure did.
Yeah, I mean, it looked to me like he was, potentially on something or hadn't slept very much. Something, he didn't look good, and he couldn't even remember how much money he was trying to save the U.S. government. At one point, he said we've saved $20 instead of $20 billion. I think he was trying to say.
That sounds about right.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
exactly
So
it.
it probably is. And then
Freudian slip.
Yeah.
then he went from like 2 trillion that he just couldn't remember his talking points. And then when they did ask him about that New York Times report today about his constant drug use during or alleged drug use during the campaign in 2024, the New York Times had quite a specific and explanation and description of everything that Musk was doing during that campaign out today. He just diverted, he attacked the New York Times for what he says is apparently a judgment against them for their reporting about Trump Russia, but didn't ever answer the question. And the reporters in the room were so hand selected, I'm guessing, to be more right wing, more of the, I think Marjorie Taylor Greene's boyfriend was there, that guy. They were throwing questions at him and at Trump that just seemed to avoid going to Musk at all costs. That's what it looked like to me. Like they had stage managed an event that just wanted to not get Musk into any embarrassing conversation at all. And I think that sort of saved them. But really, the optics are the optics. I mean, he's standing there with a black eye. And he really is the black eye to this administration. I mean, he's the guy who supposedly was going to save $2 trillion. And now he can't even put together 20 billion. He may even lose money after Doge is done. And he says that a Doge is like a way of life. It's like Buddhism. He compared it to Buddhism for some reason, and it's going to seep into the entire government. I
it,
mean,
it is a way of life. I would compare it to Russia's
Russian way of
surveillance
life.
system.
Yeah.
That's what I would.
So
Definitely a
I would
way of
say,
life,
yeah,
not
I'd love to hear your
democratic.
comments about about Olga. I know you didn't see that, but I mean, you're talking about the Russian surveillance system. You talked about a lot in the past about this surveillance state that he is building. Um, you know, this is really what Doge is about. It's not about saving any money.
Well, I mean, just from my point of view, two things. One, we don't know what's happening between him and Trump. Clearly for some reason they felt the need to have this press conference, and frankly, the media, again, it's ridiculous that the media during this moment is not understanding the gravity and dealing with everything. But all week they're on a PR spin for him, rehabilitating him, and doing everything like and repeating everything he's saying he's exiting. First of all, as far as him exiting, he his
Well, the headline was
operatives are
actually, let me
still
interrupt you
there.
because if you didn't see it, the headline is that he's not exiting. He said that Trump literally said, everyone says he's leaving, but he's not leaving. And then he said he'll be around here and there. And then he later,
Oh,
Musk said he was going to be an advisor on a regular basis, which to your point, over the last few days, it's exactly what you were saying. He's not really leaving. That was confirmed today from the Oval Office by Trump.
oh, good. because he's not leaving, and it doesn't matter physically if he's there or not, because he already put his operatives in to basically steal all our data.
Mm.
And with having access to data from every agency, they can fuse it, and from there they can, how you call it, create target list, list, have information, personal dossier on every single American through AI to know all the pressure points, whether it's health, financial, children, whatever it is, in order to silence dissent. So, I mean, frankly, to me, this whole Doge project has always been, from everything I've been seeing, tracking the building of a surveillance state. And as far as with him and Trump's personal relationship, he did make some inflammatory comments against Trump. I mean, it reminded me, when I first heard it earlier in the week, of Russia, because in Russia, Putin's closest oligarchs that he created, he easily can crush in a minute. They'll be in jail, out a window, or in jail, charged with some 1993 murder charge, and their assets seized. So, I mean, Elon is the richest person in the world, but he should not feel comfortable, because when you're dealing with a dictator, you could have bought the, White House by basically paying for Trump's campaign, but that doesn't guarantee you anything. Putin's mentor, who really made him what he is as a politician, not the KGB part of it. Um, he, was going out to campaign for Putin and was poisoned, along with two of his bodyguards who died. They all died of heart attacks. The story has always been, that Putin, this was in 1999, that Putin, ordered, that he had dinner with him, poisoned him and his bodyguards, and then as they were leaving the
Hmm.
next day, they started dropping like flies. So, I mean, the closer you are to a dictator, frankly, the less you should feel safe, and the same goes for Elon. At any moment, Trump can strip him of his companies, he can throw him to jail, he could freaking disappear him using ICE, and and no due process that he's doing to everyone else in the US. So, my thoughts.
Dean?
Um, I don't believe any of it. I'm with Olga. Like and I said this in a post the other day when Elon said he was going to step back and he's given enough. And then Trump was like, Elon's got businesses to run. If you remember that, that was about a month before that, saying, yeah, he's going to make his exit at some point in time. And I think there's a couple things to play here. One is Elon still got his Doge guys in there, Big Balls and Donkey Dong, whatever their names are, and he said they're going to be sticking around. And then he also said that he's going to be at arm's length. And then he also said he was going to sleep in the factory. And I think so. I think there was twofold. I think the sleeping in the factory and telling everybody he's going to step back. I think that was for Tesla investors who were looking for his head on a platter. So I think that part you've seen that Tesla share price rebound 375, 378 in there as of today, which is up significantly from the 250, 240 it was when everybody was going to his Tesla dealerships and protesting. So there's that. And then you have Donald Trump not wanting to look like the dotard that he is, because he
Mm.
is, right? And he never likes to take a loss, never likes to be proven wrong, never likes to be looked at like, oh, you made another stupid fucking decision, you moron. And so, part of me thinks that, yeah, he's going to take a little bit of a step back. But the other part of me is like, oh, well, it's impossible because he is absconded with America's information. He needs America's information. He still has straight pipelines into each one of these institutions, into each one of these organizations that holds up the government of the United States of America, because he's still got his Doge people in there. And I mean, a lot of that other shit that we saw today was very performative, but that is this administration slash regime, not an administration. I apologize
No.
for calling it that. It's a
Yeah.
fucking regime. It is a
Around me, you have to call a regime.
Thank you very much. I did that for you because I respect you and like you, and also you're right. It is a regime, right? It is a performative regime, much like Russia's always been a three dressed as a fucking nine, and everybody in Putin's orbit is a yes man and a fucking moron. Like Prigozhin was his chef, for God's sakes, and he
Hmm.
somehow ended up leading the Wagner Group and almost taking over the Russia. So Donald Trump is surrounding himself with similar people like that. But at the same time, I mean, whether you believe it or don't believe it, you got to, as much as I fucking hate the guy, give Trump a little bit of credit here, because obfuscation is the name of the game, and he
Mhm.
wants to keep everybody guessing all the fucking time, all the time.
This was a strategic move today, and what they were trying to do is basically walk back all the, he Musk was leaving because he was doing a terrible job, and people were really suspicious of what he was
He was
doing.
doing a great job. He has all our data.
For him,
He
yes, I
knows
know.
how
We'll
much
get
child
I was
support
about to
someone
get to
owes.
that.
He knows everything about us. He
He was
knows how
doing
much we weigh.
I mean, what you're saying is absolutely right. There's the mission of Doge, which is publicly known, which is to cut fraud and waste, which of course was bullshit. There was no fraud or waste to be cut anyhow. Well, there was some. They've been able to reduce it by 20 billion. No one even knows how they're going to even get to that number. It could be that they'll end up costing the administration money
It
because
actually did.
because of all the lawsuits and everything else
Well,
and all
hasn't
the
it already? I mean, they
it
raised the
has, but
debt
I
Yeah.
think
ceiling
there's still a
3.8
20.
trillion.
I think
Yeah.
it's a little bit of a profit margin maybe they're getting out of that. But the other piece of it is that Doge was never really about that. What you're saying is, there's a covert mission here by Musk and Trump. One assumes that they're somehow collaborating on this thing, and both of them have connections to Putin, as you keep pointing out. So,
And China.
and China. And so it's quite plausible, as I put out in my blog yesterday on narrative.org, that what we were seeing here is a takeover of the Americans' entire system, the government system, and that it may be no longer even in American hands. That it may be that what they've done with all these Starlink uplinks and these reports of Starlink sucking up American data into Russia directly. This was a direct quote from one of the lawyers involved with all of these whistleblowers. It made me wonder if America even has its own government infrastructure in its hands anymore, or whether
No.
Doge has completely supplanted the existing structure, taken all that data, taken it offshore or put it somewhere else in the shadows or in the Kremlin or wherever, and that Doge will be, run remotely by Musk. And when you think about that notion, when you think about, well, what kind of data did they have? They have and what kind of infrastructure control do they have? They have all the nuclear facilities. They have all the power grids. They have all the internet. They have control over all the social spending, all the social security spending, over any FEMA money that gets out there. They have control over the Treasury. They have
Data
control over the
points on
IRS
individuals
and
to
data
target
points
those individuals with interest. Yes,
and
absolutely.
surveillance of that. They can match all of that now with their new Palantir system that they've got. They can match all of that up with people's IP addresses, and they now have Clearview facial recognition, which is able to you
Yeah.
find people on the streets. They're able to see you, identify who you are, identify your location, see what you're doing, and they can do anything they want to.
And the
We live in a
clock system that can trace
yeah,
your
yeah,
license plate
exactly.
using the nationwide surveillance,
And we
and
live in a
flag
drone
where you
world.
are.
If they want to eliminate someone, they'll eliminate somebody. It's not going to be an issue. So, it sounds like a nightmare scenario that I'm describing, and yet it's plausible. Which was really that's why I was up till 4 a.m. in the morning. I kept rewriting and rewriting the story to make sure that I'm really finding any holes in it, because if this is what they've done, we're in a very tricky state right now where we might be sort of held captive to Russia's interests in a way that we haven't even contemplated, that we may not even have our own control over our own government, of our own sovereignty, and that it might be actually being remote controlled externally. Now, I'm saying all these things because I think it's important for people to consider them. Is there definitive, absolute proof that this is what's happening? No. But there is an incredible amount of data points, and I point them out, and I've given everyone a real sense of what we know and what we don't know in the story, that suggests that it's really possible, if not likely. And knowing Russia and knowing their history, it's something they would do if they could do it. And maybe Elon Musk has successfully done it.
Maybe.
And you didn't get into all the classified data, all the emails that
Oh,
they
yeah, that's the
have.
other thing.
They use what is the Grok to go through all the federal employee emails. Are questioning why in the world and want to actually change this. Why someone takes classified intelligence, prints it out, and then hand inputs it by hand I mean, there's a reason for that, and
It's
they want to change that. So, yes, absolutely. And this is what, look, the first thing that they did, which was alarming, and this was in January, the minute these operatives came into the government, the first thing they did was go to Treasury and say, we want access to all of American people's data. You don't do that if you're looking to save money
Mhm,
and cut whatever fraud, waste, and abuse. So
mhm.
the fact
And
that that was the first stop is to get our social security numbers. How many family members do we have? Who our family members are? Where we work? What is our banking information? How much we have in our bank? And every single thing about us. I mean, this is very
And
clear
if Russia
what's
has this
happening.
visibility, I just want to say one quick thing, and I do know you want to jump in here, but if Russia has this incredible visibility into everything the government does, into all the confidential conversations, into every movement, into everything that happens within the US government, can you imagine how much power that gives them over everything that happens? Because if now they can see everything that even Americans can't see, that even Donald Trump can't see, they can see the entire thing, transparency that they've never had into the American system that none of us have. What they can do in terms of false flag operations, what they can do in terms of manipulating situations, what they can do in terms of manipulating narratives is remarkably scary. And there's a never-ending sort of scenarios that you can come up with of things that they could do.
I go back to that one comment that Trump made dozens of times prior to the last election, where he kept saying, um, just vote for me this time and you'll never have to vote again.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, that can mean a bunch of things, but it certainly makes sense in the context of this conversation, does it not?
The other thing
Well,
he kept
lucky for
saying,
me.
so,
Sorry, go
Go
no,
ahead.
no,
ahead.
go ahead, Olga.
Lucky for me, I'm tracking it on my tracker and they've been dismantling. This is actually not related to Musk,
Mm,
but Trump has instructed all agencies, himself personally, he instructed to dismantle all election infrastructure,
mm,
bar voting ballots with barcodes and QR codes, to bar states from using certain machines. I mean, they've been doing this literally over the past few months since he came into power. And I've been trying to sound the alarm like, hello, people keep talking about 26. Like, you really need to focus on this because our, election infrastructure is being dismantled in front of
mm.
our eyes.
And you remember what Musk said or what Trump said about Musk at his rally that just
Oh,
before
yeah.
he was elected. He basically said that Musk stole it for him, that he basically knows those voting machine computers, and he was able to get Pennsylvania to somehow fall into his column. So we still do not have, in my opinion, a real understanding of what happened in that election. If you have the president of the United States saying this about his key funder and key advisor who has ties all the way to the Kremlin and Vladimir Putin. Boy, it looks, I don't know why he said it, but he said
Well,
it. And that's interesting.
with all the doom and gloom,
Mm,
we still need to focus on 2026 because I can tell you, Russia, has run operations like this in other Eastern European countries. And it's the amount of people. If you have the majority of people come out and vote, it overwhelms any kind of operations. It's been seen in Ukraine time and time again, you know. So this
Canada
is something
recently.
that
Yeah. Yeah.
Romania, well, Canada, that was thanks to Trump, threatening to annex you guys. But, Romania, Russia was running operations on social media through, I mean, it was a multifaceted operation. Moldova, the same thing happened. Albania, the same thing happened. I mean, I can go on. Australia, and it's the amount of people who come out to vote. So I still, with all the doom and gloom, we still need to make sure that we come out and vote in such numbers because Trump has always said that, on the flip side of him, that he needs such numbers so the other side can't cheat. We need such numbers that, our mandate is very clear.
It
Mm.
looked to me like before the 24 elections that we were going to have those numbers. In fact, early in the day, it seemed like
No,
that was where we were going. So
no.
I have, I don't know. I don't know how much.
Americans sat this one out.
Yeah,
20%, I believe, just
yeah.
said, you know what, I don't feel like voting this time around. No. I mean, it was a huge, significant drop from 2020 of people who came out to vote.
Anything else you want to share about Musk,
No,
or should we move on to the next thing? So,
No, no,
yes,
Olga's
please.
sick to her stomach talking
okay.
about it
Yes.
actually, so let's move
Yeah,
on.
I know. I am. It is a difficult topic, and it sort of leaves me. I was having a sort of sleepless night thinking about what all those scenarios that fall out of this, and then you're like, well, it's just never ending, and it's never good.
No,
So I hope there's still parts of this U.S. government that can even assess all of these things, because it's not going to be the Democrats, or sorry, it's not going to be the Congress that does anything. They're not going to do
no.
any oversight here. It's not going to be the FBI or anyone else that does any investigation of this. So who gets to investigate all of this and deal with it is a question I really have.
I can finish this off. Luckily, these people are so fucking stupid. I apologize for cursing, but these
Oh,
people
we're
are
allowed
so
here.
stupid. And the one thing that I said after I saw the nominees in, December, January, they're installing podcasters and idiots and influencers. These people do not know how the government works. They don't know how the files work. They don't know how the, classification works. They don't know anything. So we luckily have that. Hopefully that is slowing down some of it, because to combine Trump's people with the, Musk operatives, so the same thing. I mean, they don't know. A person from another agency, from NSA, would not know how to walk into CIA to access their files, because they don't know the system, the protocols, what each letter means, what each number means, and it's not written. There's no like, here, welcome, here's your guide to to how our intelligence is. So luckily, there's that. I mean, hoping that is playing a role here,
Well,
because you
well,
saw
let's.
Dan, what is that, Bongino, the other freaking lunatic,
Yeah.
yesterday was sitting on Fox and Friends. I died laughing. Now that I watched. I mean, he was in a therapy session crying how hard the FBI
He did say
deputy
it was a
director.
tough job.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and and I
Duh.
don't see my wife, and I have to be here at 7:30 in the morning, and I don't leave until 7 p.m.
Oh, poor
And he's
guy.
like sitting and crying that, like, this is not what he thought it would be, that it's actual, work, not spewing conspiracy garbage on a
Well,
podcast an hour a day.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Well, there you go. It's the hour a day podcasting that ruined him, right? Because he's
Yeah.
got to work 12, 15 hours a day to try to cover up Trump's crimes. It's tough. I saw that interview too. He's
Poor
like,
guy.
my wife, I really miss my wife, and we're
I-
separated, or not quite
We're
divorced,
not
but
really
kind
separated.
Did you see Cash Patel's interview with Fox News, where they had it? Cash is a very small guy, and
I
they
can't watch a Cash Patel interview because I have no idea what I am looking into. Anyway, continue.
but yes, it's true. But they had him on the biggest chair ever. Like they had this really high stool, and he looked like a
Like
little
the Wizard
kid.
of Oz.
Yeah, just dangling his legs there. And I was like, they did this on purpose. Obviously, they did this on purpose. But it's hilarious. If you haven't seen that photo, it's a really really good photo.
Like the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
You pull back
exactly.
the curtain, and this little thing sitting in a big,
Exactly. He's so
huge
scary.
thing with a
The
big
FBI director.
microphone.
Ooh. The number 3 story on the countdown is another right wing podcaster. It's Paul Ingrassia, who's been nominated by President Trump, a 30-year-old former podcaster who's once called for martial law. He's been nominated to lead the Office of the Special Counsel. This is the federal agency responsible for investigating public corruption and protecting whistleblowers. Ingressia's background include promoting far-right conspiracy theories and advocating for extreme measures against political opponents. So he's the guy who's basically calling for, the most terrible things to happen to Trump's opponents. He's now in charge of whistleblowers. He's now
Not yet.
no
Hopefully,
confidentiality.
Congress will stop him. They stopped
And
the
of course,
other
there's a lot of
lunatic.
whistleblowers blowing the whistle right now. But tell us about the
Yeah.
story, Olga. When you say it's not yet happening,
Oh,
how
that's my
likely?
story. I
It
know
is
I
your story.
It is
documented.
now. It is now, Olga.
It was from your Trump tyranny tracker.
Yeah, no, it's on my Trump
Yeah,
tyranny
yeah,
tracker, but I didn't know if it was part of you or.
yeah.
Yeah, so we keep seeing Trump as, nominating the most extremist loyalists who have zero experience, and putting them into sensitive positions. And this is another one. I mean, imagine having someone who called for martial law, an election, conspiracy theorist, who praised the insurrection, and this is the guy who's going to be in charge of our whistleblowers who are trying to sound what's happening inside. um so yeah, this is another dangerous thing, and hopefully he will not be nominated. We saw Congress actually have a backbone and stop the Ed Martin nomination. Well, this guy's just as extreme, so hoping to that.
You know, there's a future, Dean. If this worked the other way around, you know, you
Mm,
could be the minister of
right.
whatever you want to be in the
Yeah.
future administration, because
Thank God Canada elected Mark Carney so guys like me wouldn't ascend to positions where I'm in charge of fucking anything. Right? Like, I mean,
I
honest
mean,
to
it's
God, if
equivalent.
I
It's not
was a
equivalent.
right
You're obviously much
if
more
well,
capable,
dude,
but
it happened here in Canada. Like the,
yeah,
the the Conservative Party of Canada, which is GOP North, full of fucking crazies, QAnon, Maple MAGA.
yeah.
A guy that won a seat in the House of Commons as an MP, as a filmmaker, a right wing filmmaker, just like these podcasters had a podcast. His name's Aaron Gunn.
Yeah.
He's fucked in the head. And he won his election. And he's legitimately a sitting government employee, an MP that sits in Ottawa in the House of Commons that gets his expenses paid for, a couple $100,000 a year for free. He gets an expense account. He gets drivers and stuff like that. And he was literally one of the guys that was like, everybody, you got to eat ivermectin and eat bog
Right.
dirt if you want to get rid of COVID. It's so good for you. And he was also calling for martial law during the convoy, martial law against people that wanted the unvaccinated people vaccinated. So like America isn't the only country
Yeah.
that is putting like podcasters who have mushy pea brains in power. Canada has our own too. But again, I go back to this all the time. If
Boomer,
only
shush.
Zev, if only Olga, if only we were right wing, dotard, moron podcasters, we might have cushy government jobs today, everybody.
I
Well, you
know,
know,
right?
Huh?
that's what you
No.
do. If you support the government, you can get those jobs. If you support those types of candidates, so that's
Fucking
why these
wild.
guys lined up behind Trump. Olga, the other story from the Trump attorney tracker that's at number 2 today is just really amazing to me because I'm actually these shows up as we go here. Was the new tax provision found in that new big beautiful bill, or so-called big beautiful bill, included a provision for these things called Trump accounts for newborn babies. Why is this in the? I mean, presumably it's going to get taken out. I don't know if it will be, but what is the Trump accounts and what? Why do newborn babies need to get these accounts?
Well, because Trump is sitting and throwing meat to his base, and he wants to, fund women to have babies.
Oh, it's
But
that
then
thing. Okay.
after that, the minute they're born, obviously they can't have health insurance, and no one should have anything, and no vaccination. So they don't care if the babies die because vaccines are, they have conspiracies about vaccines, and RFK is doing quite a number in his position. Um, so yeah, but the tax provisions more so, there were several of them. And again, it includes the limitations on court. It includes this ridiculous thing to pay people, which normally I wouldn't say it's as ridiculous if it wasn't coming from these people, because if a family wants to start and have a child, yes, I mean, it is nice. In Europe, they assist you with having a child and give you, money up front so you can get started. Um, so, but coming from these people who then, want to literally are cutting food from children, cutting education from children,
Yeah, there's
cutting,
student aid programs that are
disability
cutting right
programs
now.
from children,
Yeah.
everything else. I mean, the whole thing is absurd, but I put it in there not as much for that, but just more so the provisions that Republicans hid in the dark in the middle of the night, which it does include, and we've sounded the alarm on this, and it still can be stopped in Senate. Power limits on the court system and what
De-
judges can do, and it has a few things. So I
it's good.
included the article
Deregulating
because
artificial intelligence, gutting student aid programs, imposing new
yeah,
taxes on immigrants, and creating mandatory accounts, which you just spoke about. 9 things that have nothing to do, that shouldn't be in that bill. They were just snuck in the middle of the night. And it's
yep,
interesting, the deregulating artificial intelligence, just a total give
yeah,
to Silicon Valley,
that's
of
another
course.
one.
Yeah, it's
Hmm.
just annoying. Any thoughts about the big fleecing bill, Dean?
Well, just in reference to this one, Handmaid's Tale comes to mind. By the
Mm.
way, Elizabeth Moss, great actress. And it speaks to Trump, as Olga has said. This is my estimation too. The red meat to the base, right? Natalism is a big deal with these psychos. Natalism is a word that people should get familiar with because technocratic assholes like Elon Musk, who has 15 kids with 17 different women, believe that it is their job to leave behind as many kids as they can possibly leave behind, specifically the smart ones. So there's that part of it, natalism. And then the other part of it is the great replacement theory, which we talk about. It's huge in Project 2025. It's all over
Mm.
Project 2025 if you haven't read it. It is how do we get as many white kids back into the United States to drown out the noise from all the kids that are not white and all the people who are not white who have come here to replace our super white bloodlines with their bloodlines from other places. So, that's part of this bill, but I think it's more importantly the intention of the provisions
Yeah.
in that bill, if you ask me.
I'm so
And
glad you raised
again,
that.
just to
Yeah,
reiterate, I mean, it is normal in Europe, like I said. I mean,
yeah.
you and it's normal if to provide some kind of help for families who do want to have kids just to get started and whatnot. But coming from this group of people, I mean, honestly, keep your whatever $5,000 or whatever they're offering per child, because these are the people who at the same time want to cut grandma and grandpa off of Social Security, children off of their cancer treatment. So I mean, just coming from these people, it just shows you the absurdity of it. That there it's not true intentions that they have, and it's more to what Dean is saying. And I actually have a eugenics article in my tracker today that I did not include in this for us to talk about, but it's there about how Trump has had a very long, decades long view of eugenics and
But
the
you
comments
did
he's
include
made.
one story, and it does tie into exactly what Dean is saying as well about the replacement theory. Is this notion of the Office of Remigration,
Yes. Hmm.
which this I've never heard of this before. The radically reorganized State Department is now establishing an Office of Remigration, and this is basically a term used and promoted by European extremists and envisions not just the deportation but the systematic removal of immigrants and even naturalized citizens deemed to be non-assimilated. This
Yep.
represents the institutionalized. I mean, it's
Great
exactly what it sounds
replacement
like.
shit, right? Yeah,
It's the
it's like how do
reverse of,
we,
yeah.
yeah, how do we get more white kids into the country? How do we birth a more white society? And then simultaneously, how do we get rid of as many people who don't look like us as humanly fucking possible? It's the
But
same thing.
citizens
Yeah.
like forcing citizens who are not
Yes.
assimilated in the way that you
Yes.
want them to be assimilated.
Oh, and listen, this is not about immigration.
Yeah.
Like that's
No.
that's the other thing. This is not about people who have overstayed their visas. This is about how the fuck do we get America to be incredibly white again? Like
Hmm.
that's all this is. It's got
Hmm.
so the way they do it
Except it
is
never was white, so I'm not sure what that then part is.
It's
I
true.
mean,
It's true. It's good. Good point.
we took it from the indigenous people, so I mean, and then you had Europeans who settled, but I mean, the country over the past century has had everyone move here.
But we're
Mhm.
starting to get down to that slippery slope now, right? I mean, this is no longer hidden in their agenda. This is now clearly what they're doing on a day-to-day basis. They're building a racist state that they're determined to build it. It looks like it. I mean, this kind of they can try hide behind these terms, but this sounds like an elimination. It sounds like they're trying to get rid of
Yep.
people who are not the people they want.
Of course
And
they
when
are.
and when does it? But where does that? Where does the ethics of that stop? And when do you get to the concentration camps? And when do you get to the work camps and the other? How far away are we from that? If they can
Well, they're
honestly,
here already. They're here already. The work camps, as you
yeah,
put them in the
yeah,
United States of America, optically look bad for Trump. So he just sends them to other countries that have
right.
concentration camps at the moment.
But for this purpose, for the purpose of
No,
saying
but
you're basically
this,
not white
honestly,
enough, or
yeah,
you're
first of
not,
all, this comes from a neo-Nazi,
yeah.
this is like based on a neo-Nazi agenda across Europe. But what the more alarming part than, whitening America is the fact the naturalized citizens,
Mm.
because that means I don't know, honestly, I personally don't know I mean, a handful of people maybe I know who were born in this country. For the most part, everybody came at different stages and are naturalized. And if they, start removing citizenship from naturalized people, even if they're here 70 years, 60 years, 40 years, this is a dangerous problem because then this can be easily used against opposition and people like me, for instance, or anyone who speaks out. You
Hmm.
know, all of us are naturalized, and before naturalized, unless you really well, not even, because even if I were to commit the most heinous crime, normally in normal America I would go through the judicial system
Hmm.
and and deal with the courts and the prosecutors and whatever. Here in this case, they're hinting at stripping naturalization from people who do not see America as the way they see it. So if you're fighting for democracy, you clearly are not seeing America as the way they see it, or if you're fighting against corruption. And the fact that they slipped that in to this new, what, by State Department nonetheless, re-immigration office that they're planning to build is something that we really need to monitor and push back. And at the same time, every time we hit State Department, I want to remind everyone Marco Rubio's grandfather came here
Mm.
illegally.
Mm.
Illegally. And for him to betray students and to betray asylum seekers and go and now today they are removing the TPS status. Venezuelans and Afghans
Yeah.
who fought alongside Americans and if they go back will be executed and jailed, and the fact that they're doing this and he's supporting and cheering this on, I mean, it's reprehensible. And with this TPS status today, they specifically mentioned Nicaraguans, Haitians, Venezuelans, Afghans, but they also have Ukrainians on their list, so they are
This is
also
the Supreme
preparing to
Court.
send Ukrainians
Oh wow.
back to Ukraine as Russia's committing its genocidal war.
This is a really difficult decision. The Supreme Court saying that 500,000, people who have been here legally right now, as they're waiting for their processing and all these other things, or just working here, can now be sent back, according to the Supreme
Yeah,
Court. So it's,
Cubans. Hmm.
yeah. Oi, well, let's. Yeah, Dean, anything you? I don't know. Do you want to jump in there because I.
No, dude, I'm excited for number one because my phone's
That
gonna
was number
die here in a
one. That
second.
was
Oh, was
that
that
was
number
number
one?
one. Yeah, that was
Oh,
Oh,
number
well, good.
one.
We I did. I
But I
thought we
feel
were
like
at
I
number
need something.
three.
I need a cheering ending here. I need something to. I mean,
You
this
know,
is it's been like a slippery slide today.
yeah, yeah, a lot of dirge today, a lot
Yeah,
of
yeah,
negativity, a lot of
yeah.
paranoia, but
no,
these are all
I
things you
always
need.
have positivity.
I was on today, and let me just give my beautiful friends in America. I'm in Canada, Zev's in Canada. The lovely Olga Lautman is in the United States of America. And listen, there are people like Dave Packman, a bunch of different people online who are considering leaving the United States. All these things to be said that, what you're seeing and what you're hearing, weigh it all with a small grain of salt, just a small grain of salt, because there's always hope, right? There
Mm.
is
Oh yeah.
hope in the idea that I watched a couple of different individual courts tell Donald Trump to vacate his stupid fucking tariffs. It's totally a scam. It was a so he appealed it, but that's largely every expert's like, yeah, he's going to lose that appeal. Tariffs are done. You're seeing America stand up. You're seeing the institutions of the United States really become important to the people who truly need them, not part of the 77 million that voted for this dickhead. And listen, he's committing crime, brazen crime in daylight. You're watching guys like Marco Rubio, who is an absolute fucking traitor to every human being in the United States of America.
The
On a
world.
very short leash right now, and he is going to get it. Every one of these people are going to get it. I truly believe that. This is just a matter of time, and you have to live through the pain to be able to get through the pain. So keep going through the pain. I know Olga is like smiling, going, "I don't think they're going to get it." Oh,
This
I
is like
No,
Dean's
she does.
retribution. speech.
She's got
So
her
Well,
own
I can't
retribution list
be.
that she's working on. Trust me.
Now, Olga, I have a different take on this. Go ahead, Dean. Finish.
no, I'm encouraged by the pushback. I'm encouraged by conversations I'm having with people in the United States. I was encouraged, when I went over to Europe, talking to Americans, some of which of people who voted for Trump were like, "Hey, dude, we didn't know that this would happen. We're really sorry." I'm like, "Well, you weren't fucking paying attention." That was a legitimate conversation I had with an oil guy from Texas. I'm like, well, then you haven't been paying attention. And his wife goes, see, I told you. Like, Americans are waking up and institutions are starting to come around, right? And so hopefully we're going to see, a better America in the short period of time. I think all of these people are going to be on the run for the rest of their fucking lives. At least that's what I hope exists. Now, Olga, your take, please.
My take is we're not doing nearly as enough. But the ultimate check on this power is going to lie with the people. And I keep saying that it is up to us. And people keep asking, how long is he going to stay? Is he leaving in 28? This is up to us. He stays as long as we want. And I can tell you in Ukraine, two revolutions later, when people were fed up with the corruption or with, the pro-Russia stances and operations, they basically said enough and made sure, to uh, make their voices heard and organize sustained protest. And that's it. So here it's up to us, and I wouldn't be doing this. We wouldn't if we thought this is the end. I don't think anybody would be like, "Oh yeah, it's the end. Let me continue." Trying to fight for nothing. So we all know that there's hope. We're all fighting for it, and ultimately, I think as Trump, drives his bulldozer across, every house in America by cutting their Social Security or their Medicare or Medicaid or SNAP, and all the social net programs, purging people across the country, the tariffs, everything. I think more and more will wake up, and more will come out. So
You guys well
we got
said.
this.
This is the pain, and it feels painful some days. I get like today's been a really hard day because I just feel like there's so much hard stuff to deal with, and this it's just the pain exists. It's sort of this pain in the pit of your stomach that just it
Am I
doesn't go
sick?
away.
Am I sick then?
Yeah,
Because today I really enjoyed taking a couple
you
of people to the woodshed.
I'm so glad that firstly, what's great is when you have people that like you guys talk to on a regular basis, it's always better to do this in, when you have community and you have people who can lift you up. But also there's a way of thinking about that pain and saying, you know what? That pain is the pain that's going to drive us to ultimately overthrow the system or overthrow these guys.
And
And we need that pain. In some ways that's going to be the driving force, and then we need to turn it around and harness it as something else. It's not as pain but as strength. So go ahead, Olga.
and just to add, we have tomorrow Mental Health Awareness Month ends. I just wrote an article earlier in the week. Look, we are going through hell, but it's just as important for us to, you know, step away for a minute,
Mhm.
and the resistance won't collapse. America won't collapse if you take, that time to recharge, go, for a walk, whatever it is, to reboot, and then just come back. And also the other thing when with resistance, you don't have to think that you alone are going to do it. It's the small actions. It could be, placing taco stickers across bus stations in America. It could be the smallest acts, but as long as you're doing something, making phone calls, writing letters, filing petitions like you have on your Zev, you have on your
Narrative.org. Yeah.
yeah. As long as you're doing something, because this is a long movement.
Mm.
This is not, like, oh, we need to put 100% right now and that's it because it'll be over. No, this is a very long movement. We're going to have to continue going on. So, for mental health awareness month, just take that break when you need it. Go walk away, unplug, and then come back, recharge, and get to work again.
Olga Lautman from the Trump Tyranny Tracker.substack.com. Thank you very much for being here today. And Dean
Oh.
Blundell from deanblundell.substack.com. Thank you. As always, nice to see you both.
Good to see
I'm
you
glad we could
both.
do this mashup. It's the first time we've done a mashup and it worked quite well.
I missed Olga. I just want to say that out loud. I
Uh,
missed Olga.
I'm sure she missed you.
Aw.
I love you both. So great to have you in one place. I can just like
Well,
reach out and
I
hug you.
hope why you don't take any
Squeeze
more
your cheeks.
vacations. You're not allowed to have that.
Yes,
one a year,
you
Olga.
gotta
And I
suffer with
had to
us.
fill your shoes last week twice, and
Yeah, but
I
you did an
can't. I
incredible fucking
can't
job.
nearly ever fill your shoes.
Oh,
So
come on. It's
I
me that
tried.
can't fill yours. I'm so grateful to spend
Uh,
time with you today. Both of you, thanks for coming to the Five Stack. Everybody, don't forget, subscribe to these beautiful people if you get a chance to, because this is where the news lives. This is where the truth lives. It's not in mainstream media. There's no profiles encouraged there. It's this lovely lady, Olga Lautman. It's my friend Zev. It's me. It's Steve Schmidt. It's all the people that are fighting for you because we are you. So thank you very much for tuning in today.
have a good night, everyone. Bye bye.
Bye.